A proud day for this country? How could it be a proud day when a man who was not elected by the people becomes President of the United States? How does that happen? The master of political takedowns went all in on Donald Trump in a live TV critique so intense that it's surprising Trump's spray tan didn't melt right off. This wasn't just criticism, it was a complete deconstruction, exposing the reality behind the image. It was a masterclass in dismantling the carefully crafted persona of a man who has spent decades pretending to be untouchable. So what triggered this? The lies? The scandals? The seemingly endless cycle of incompetence? And the timing couldn't have been more fitting, right as Trump's latest controversy was unraveling in real time. The speaker didn't just call Trump out, he tore apart the illusion piece by piece, leaving supporters scrambling to defend what couldn't be defended. And Trump? His reactions were predictable. Claim victimhood, again. Post an angry response, again. Attempt to shift attention elsewhere, again. Spoiler, he did all three. This was more than just a viral moment, it was a reckoning. Trump's entire public image was pulled into the spotlight, and it didn't hold up. Not the supposed toughness, not the supposed success, not the claims of being for the people. Just another wealthy figure pretending to be something he's not while others bear the consequences. The assumption that everyday Americans share a particular set of views is flawed. The reality is that the U.S. is a nation of immigrants, with most people having ancestors who arrived seeking a better future. The idea of speaking negatively about immigrants in a harsh and divisive way ignores that shared history. What happened was a moment that resonated with many, someone finally saying out loud what millions had been thinking. In front of the entire world, Trump was challenged directly, and his response played out as expected. At this point, criticism of Trump on live TV has almost become a routine event. But this time, it felt different. It was an undeniable, precise takedown, like watching a structure collapse under its own weight. Trump's presidency has been described as a moment that some may celebrate in the short term, but, as history has shown, reactions to major political decisions can evolve over time. When Michael Moore speaks, people tend to listen. He has built a reputation for bold political commentary and has made many accurate predictions over the years. This time, when he chose to challenge Trump, it was no different. The core issue is that many Americans do not want division or threats of violence. People can disagree, but there should be a limit to how far that division goes. Michael Moore's statements were direct and unfiltered, and the impact was immediate. Trump, who often presents himself as a strong and stable leader, was left looking anything but. Trump has frequently given himself grand titles, business genius, stable genius, and more. But there's one thing he struggles with: being exposed. And that's exactly what happened. Moore didn't just criticize Trump, he put his entire public persona under scrutiny. Trump's business ventures have faced significant challenges, from financial struggles in industries known for profitability to legal battles over past enterprises. Meanwhile, his legal troubles continue to grow, with multiple cases and investigations surrounding him. When confronted with fact-based criticism, his typical response is to lash out, deny, and attempt to shift focus elsewhere. At the end of the day, Trump's response to criticism remains predictable, whether through social media outbursts, public denials, or launching new distractions. And the cycle continues. Faster than a stale cookie the moment someone points out that the emperor has no clothes. Moore didn't just poke holes in the Trump mythology, he drove a Mack truck through it. Watching the fragile ego behind the bluster get exposed is must-see TV. So, what's next? Probably more tantrums, more deflection, and definitely more proof that the only thing Trump consistently builds is a mountain of his own failures. Want more unfiltered truth bombs? Hit subscribe now, because the next meltdown is always juicier than the last. They don't seem to be in touch with where the majority of Americans stand. Most Americans do not want this divisiveness or the threat of violence. It's okay to disagree with each other, but that's where it should end. And then, there's his political career, one long, slow-motion car crash that somehow keeps getting worse. You'd think that after losing an election, getting impeached not once but twice, and inciting one of the most chaotic and embarrassing incidents in modern American history at the Capitol, he'd take the hint and fade into political obscurity. But no, that would require a level of self-awareness that Donald J. Trump simply does not possess. Taking a hint is not his style. If anything, the more America tells him enough already, the more he seems to believe the country is secretly begging for his comeback. Trump taking a hint is like his most die-hard supporters sitting through an actual, factual, unbiased history class. It's just not happening. Because why deal with reality when you can rewrite history in real time? Donald Trump is a big believer in capitalism and free enterprise, the very mindset that has driven things into the ground, the belief that you can do whatever you want, regardless of who gets hurt. He's not likely to change. But he knows how to work the media. He's been on TV. He's a performance artist. He knows what to say and how to make an appeal. Any normal politician facing scandal, legal troubles, and overwhelming public rejection would take the hint, maybe write a memoir, give some paid speeches, and fade into obscurity. But Donald Trump doesn't do normal. He doesn't do graceful exits. Instead, he doubles down, triples down, and then builds an entirely new reality where he's not just innocent but the victim of the greatest conspiracy in American history. Deep state operatives, radical leftists, the mainstream media, who knows, maybe next week he'll add the ghost of Abraham Lincoln to his ever-growing list of enemies. This is the Trump playbook in action. When faced with failure, simply declare it doesn't exist. Lost an election by 7 million votes? Must be fraud. Got impeached twice? Clearly a witch hunt. Facing multiple criminal indictments? Political persecution. In Trump's world, reality is negotiable, facts are flexible, and accountability is just oppression spelled wrong. He's turned conspiracy theories into an art form and grievance into a full-time business model. And let's talk about those legal troubles, because there are plenty to choose from. Criminal indictments stacking up like unpaid bills at a Trump hotel. Civil lawsuits piling up faster than his broken campaign promises. Ongoing investigations that make the Mueller probe look like a warm-up act. Most people facing this much legal heat would be hiding under a rock. But Trump? He's out there turning court appearances into campaign stops and mugshots into merch opportunities. He wears his legal woes like badges of honor. Each new indictment is just another excuse to cry victim and fuel his supporters' outrage. Here's the genius of the grift. Trump has taken failure and rebranded it as persecution. Every subpoena becomes a fundraising email. Every indictment transforms into a rallying cry. He's created an entire ecosystem where losing is winning, where crimes are badges of honor, and where his followers are so invested in the fantasy that they'll donate their last dollar to a billionaire who refuses to admit defeat. The truth is simple. Trump's post-presidency proves one thing above all else: his greatest fear isn't prison, isn't bankruptcy, isn't even losing. It's irrelevance. And as long as he can keep spinning scandals into conspiracy theories and court dates into content, he'll keep dragging this circus on, no matter how many times the facts say the show should be over. Want more unfiltered truth bombs about the political circus? Smash that subscribe button, because this train wreck is far from over. He knows how to manipulate a dumbed-down population, a population whose schools have been wrecked, whose media is insipid and stupid, and doesn't provide people with the facts about what's going on. That's why the public is easily manipulated by someone like him. And those who vote for him? He had record turnouts. He has the largest rallies. He supports a 21st century version of fascism, merging the state and capital to benefit the few at the expense of the many. In the process, logic, reason, and basic common sense are completely disregarded. Yet, here we are, a man who lost the popular vote twice, declared bankruptcy 6 times, and made golf look exhausting somehow still commands the blind loyalty of millions, despite daily revelations that would end any other political career. We've reached the point where Trump could literally shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, and his base would call it a deep fake. He could declare bankruptcy on the Statue of Liberty, and they'd blame immigrants. This isn't politics anymore, it's a full-blown reality distortion field where up is down, lies are truth, and failure is just success that hasn't been properly litigated yet. The lawsuits alone could fuel an entire streaming service: Law and Disorder, The Trump Chronicles, Keeping Up with the Indictments, or The Real Convicts of Mar-a-Lago. Michael Moore perfectly exposed the absurdity of a man facing enough charges to fill a Cheesecake Factory menu, who still claims it's all a deep state conspiracy, because, obviously, the same justice system that lets Wall Street crooks and war criminals walk free suddenly decided to target a reality TV star with the business acumen of a lottery winner and the ethics of a used car salesman. Let's survey Trump's legal buffet of failure. For appetizers, we have the civil suits, fraud, defamation, contract disputes, essentially, Trump's greatest business hits. The main course? Criminal indictments, election interference, document hoarding, racketeering, the fancy stuff. And for dessert? The coming attractions, because with Trump, there's always more. His lawyers probably have panic buttons installed in their offices and a group chat permanently set to code red. Meanwhile, Trump is out here claiming the courts are rigged, as if judges select defendants via dystopian bingo night. Here's a news flash, Dawn: when you spend 50 years stiffing workers, laundering money, and treating laws like suggestions, eventually, the suggestions become subpoenas. The irony is thicker than his makeup. This self-proclaimed winner is actually the losest loser to ever lose, a 2-time popular vote loser, 6-time bankruptcy king, and golf cheat who somehow made swinging a club look exhausting. He's the reverse Midas of our time: everything he touches turns to litigation. His art of the deal is really just the art of the plea bargain. And yet, this president-elect doesn't seem engaged at all. He's more focused on tweeting about Alec Baldwin on SNL. 5 hours after the show ends at 1 a.m., by 6 a.m., he's tweeting, "Not funny. Not funny. Sad. Not watchable," as if that's his priority while skipping most of his national security briefings. He took only 3 briefings in his first month. His recent success? Convincing people to spend hundreds of dollars on tacky gold sneakers bearing his name, because nothing says man of the people like defrauding your own supporters with overpriced luxury meets QVC shoes. These sneakers look like they were designed by someone who believes that being a Vegas fan is a personality trait. But at least they'll match those Trump-branded steaks, the now-defunct airline, whatever remains of Trump University, and, of course, the grift, the never-ending grift. If Trump could make money off of failure, he'd be the wealthiest person on the planet. Somehow, his most loyal fans continue to spend money on everything he touches, even if it's an overpriced, subpar product. He's essentially the ShamWow guy of politics, except he creates new messes rather than cleaning up old ones, then asks his supporters to foot the bill. If Michael Moore were a comedian who also enjoyed exposing scams, he would have presented all of this with surgical precision. He didn't just attack Trump's policies, or lack thereof. He did more than just highlight the failures, scandals, and never-ending stream of embarrassing events. He targeted the Trump brand, the myth, the illusion, and the entire fake industry of spray tanning, cheap hats, and overpriced NFTs. Trump outsmarted us all. And then there's a little throw-up in everyone's mouth. Here's the beautiful irony about Donald Trump: he weathers scandals, shrugs off indictments, and spins electoral losses like a carnival barker. But the one thing he absolutely cannot stomach is being laughed at. And Michael Moore didn't just laugh at him, he turned Trump into a national punchline live on television. That's the kryptonite to Trump's carefully crafted persona. Criticism? He'll call it fake news. Exposure? He'll claim it's a witch hunt. But mockery, the kind that slices through the bluster and hits the fragile ego underneath? Cue the meltdown, the all-caps tweet storms, the desperate, flailing attempts to dismiss it all.